Hey guys, I'm trying out something new, so this video for today is going to be about two stories from r/AITA. The first is about two sisters, and they're not so great parents, and the second is about a guy who married a Karen. But without further ado, let's get into it. When I was younger, I had a good relationship with my sister, and it was around age 10 when I realized things were always how my sister wanted them to be, for the time that we spent together. It was always the library, or a museum, or talking about books or reading together. Those were her only interests. But I had so much more I wanted to do and enjoyed more. And I'll be honest, museums were never fun for me. I was always bored out of my mind, and I hated the library we went to as kids. But my sister struggled a lot with making friends. She could talk to people just fine, but her lack of interest in other stuff like movies, TV, music, video games, sports, art, etc. was a turnoff for most kids, especially when most stuff went over her head. And when she was comfortable with you, she wanted to share everything that she loved. So she would talk a lot about the book that she had just read, and she would go on forever about it. One time, my family took a trip to see our cousins. It was a 5-hour drive, and all she would do is talk about the last book that she read. And she talked nearly for the full 5 hours. My parents didn't like to see me pull away from her, and they told me that I needed to be a good sister and be her social interaction with someone who is more or less her own age. They would make me go to the museums and the library with her, where she would spend hours. They would set up story time, where we had to read before bed and talk about what we were reading. They would bribe me with extra time with my friends to do it. And if I said no, they would use time with my friends as a consequence.
Oh, well, if you won't take 2 hours to make your sister happy, then you don't get time with friends.
And stuff like that was so common. My sister thought we were best friends, and I was miserable every second that we spent doing that stuff. And when I would suggest something else, she would say no. XYZ was our thing, and we didn't need to change it. She told me that we both loved it, and one time, I half told her the truth, and she got so upset, my parents made me say that I hadn't meant it, and told me to never say anything like that to her again. She believed that I was just mad at our parents and said something that I didn't really mean. My sister knows that my relationship with our parents is strained, and she thinks that's why we didn't do that stuff as much after I moved out. But recently, she moved out too, and she wanted me to go to the museum with her again, and I said I didn't want to. She was surprised and asked me why. I told her I wasn't feeling it, but she pushed more. Why I wasn't interested, as it was my favorite thing to do. So I told her that she needed to talk to our parents about it, and I wouldn't say more. She was really confused, and now our parents are saying I'm a jerk. I feel bad for not telling her, but I also feel like it should be their job and not mine. And I also have no idea how I would be honest without crushing her. AITA. Well, this sounds a lot to me like a couple of things here. Firstly, it sounds like she has either Asperger's or is lying somewhere on the autism spectrum disorder. And beyond that, I'm going to say a lot of this is also boiling down to the parents being kind of crappy. It's not the siblings' duty to be what is effectively a caretaker. I don't know if you can necessarily say that this is neglect, but I think it's something akin to it. It's not the sibling's duty to spend their entire childhood with their sibling. That's kind of ridiculous. I just hope in the end that these two can kind of mend their differences and still be okay with each other. It doesn't seem like the OP absolutely hates their sister, and obviously the other sister likes the OP, so I hope everything kind of goes well for them in the end. But I can completely understand if the OP just never really wants to talk with their parents again. They're completely in their right to do that. But that's the end of the first story, So, on to the second one. I started working at my dad's friend's restaurant since 2016. I started off small, but was able to gain my employer's trust. And after seeing how I have been managing the restaurant on days when he wasn't available, he decided to assign me to handle restaurant management, which meant I would be overseeing day-to-day operations, handling customer complaints, providing service, managing shifts, and putting together schedules and so on. I'm not really the manager, but the staff thinks I am, so my relationship and interaction with the staff have changed quite a bit. But it has nothing to do with my behavior. My wife is my biggest supporter. She was thrilled after I told her that I'm directly handling management, but I made it clear that I'm not the manager, so I have limited authority. I'm not the ultimate decision maker in the establishment. Still, though, she went to tell everyone that her husband is now the manager of this workplace, and even posted about it, which I told her to take down immediately. She recently showed up to the restaurant, even though she doesn't normally eat there, and brought her friends with her, which was 5 of them. She invited them for lunch and ordered plenty of dishes, but she embarrassed the waitress by refusing to pay, telling everyone that she was the wife of the manager, and how she shouldn't pay. She started arguing with the waitress, then went home, and in about 2 hours after this, I got a call from the waitress wanting to talk about what had happened and why I fired her. I was shocked, and I had no clue. She showed me the message that was sent from my Facebook, but I swore that I didn't do it. I didn't even know that my wife had come to the restaurant. And it turned out, my wife sent the message on my behalf, and fired her, claiming that her behavior was rude and unprofessional. I was livid, and I got berated by the manager after he found out, and I begged and explained that it was all a mistake, a misunderstanding, and I was able to give an alibi as to when the message was sent. Thankfully, he was patient and graceful. I got home and confronted her, and she confirmed everything, including the message. So I blew up. I told her that she almost cost me my entire job with her unacceptable behavior. And for the millionth time, I told her that I wasn't the manager, and that she needed to stop using this as an excuse to behave like this. She started crying after I told her to apologize to the waitress after this, and she packed her stuff and left. I was so angry, I smoked a cigarette, even though I'm trying to quit. Her parents called, demanding to know what the hell their daughter did, other than be excited for my new position, and that I was wrong to cause her to cry, when all she's ever been is supportive and encouraging. After they insisted that I mishandled this argument, I just stopped talking to them. I'm now required to visit as soon as possible and bring flowers and apologize to my wife for yelling, but I haven't done anything yet. One thing I can say for sure is this very well might be a sign of what's to come with this individual. She seems like the type of person that would normally be called a Karen, and I can only assume that she was supportive and excited on him becoming a manager so that she could use him to get things that would benefit her. That seems to be a very common thing with these people. They want to live vicariously through your achievements, and they don't care what trouble they cause you. And even if you do lose your job, well, that's your fault, not theirs. The OP doesn't say it, but I have a feeling like this particular individual might not even be employed. So, my 2 cents would be cut this dead weight before it drags you down to the depths of the ocean with it. Well guys, let me know what you think of these stories and the people they're in, and let me know if this video and how I did it is good enough for me to occasionally do this. Or if this should just get chucked off the nearest cliff. But, as always, have a good one.